Okay. All right. Before I say anything on this video, how many of you remember a video I had put out, I think in the first week, or was it last week? I can't really remember, but I had put out a video where I told you all to keep an eye on Dede and Miday's friendship, that there seems to be cracks here and there. How many of you recall that video? Now, it wasn't like a particular whole video, no, but I had been analyzing another situation and then I had, touched on their friendship. How many of you recall that conversation? Anyways, if you do, ladies and gentlemen, our prediction is beginning to unfold here. So, I had once mentioned that Mide does not seem to be entirely into this friendship. I mean, for it genuinely, right? That Jasonjae seems to be the only genuine friend that Dede has. Yeah? And the reason I said so is because everything that was happening between Dede and Kola, it seemed like Midday had her own personal, how do I put it? Should I say personal vendetta, or should I say she had her own, she had her own reasons for doing whatever she was doing, right? And what exactly was she doing? Dede would say she doesn't want to talk to Kola, but Midday will go to Kola and say, keep pressing, keep pushing, keep talking to her, Now, we do not know if it's a planned work between both girls, but the effect always came back negative, right? And so when Kola would start spreading all those false narratives and the consequences comes back hitting on Dede, Midday is right there in the middle, still encouraging Kola to continue doing what he's doing. And that was the reason I had said that I don't trust this Midday's loyalty in this friendship. I mean, not like she actually owes Dede any loyalties or anything, because at the end of the day, each man for himself or each woman for herself. These housemates came into that house individually to compete for that money, right? So it's not like Midday actually owes Dede anything. But in the principles of friendships, right, one would have expected that she would have done otherwise and respected friends' wishes instead of trying to sabotage the whole thing from her own end. Yes, and the fact that every time she and Bright sat down to have conversations, instead of them to focus on both of themselves, they would always drag Dede's name into their conversation and Bright to say the most demeaning things about Dede, and Midday will agree and encourage him to continue saying what he wants to say. So for me, I said that this sort of friendship, it's not really balanced. It does not really make sense. It might seem as though there's something fishy going on, especially with Midday, that we should all keep an eye on her. Ladies and gentlemen, last night, there was another episode, yeah? So, I'd mentioned on my previous video that after the pool party, Kola had organized a game for the whole house. And the game was more of like a question and giving a very honest answer as a response. So there were questions of, okay, who's the most boring in the house? And then somebody will be picked to mention someone who is the one that is not so attractive in the house. They mentioned Tracy. Now, for the most boring in the house, Zita had actually mentioned Midday, and Midday almost lost it. Midday was so pissed. She was so pissed. And she was trying to keep it together, trying to keep it classy and cool, but she wasn't really having it. She couldn't control herself because, according to her, this entire week, Zita has been coming for her. Especially after their fight. Zita has been making sly remarks, making side comments, saying things like, oh, she's boring, that she gave her the highlights, blah, blah, blah. Zita has been saying a lot of things, and that had been really getting on her nerves. So she was talking to Kola and one or two other persons that she cannot wait for Sunday. That after the eviction, that she's going to put up a performance. Now, what she was insinuating was she strongly believes that Zita was going to be evicted or is going to be evicted on Sunday. And so she cannot wait for Ebuka to announce Zita's eviction so that she can stand up and put up an act, probably clap her hands and, shush Zita out of the house, or probably just do something crazy. But she is currently waiting for Sunday to have her day. Whilst all of that was going on, there was Dede and Joanna. They were on the other side of the sofa in the lounge, because this whole thing was happening in the lounge, right? So they were sitting on that very wide sofa. So whilst she was on this side, you know, venting and getting angry and talking to Bright and Kola, Dede was on this side with Joanna, and they were having conversations. Joanna was confiding in Dede about this whole shipping business with Victory. You know, the fact that Victory has been wooing her, and she has been telling him that she does not want to be in a ship. She loves her individuality. So that was what she was telling Dede, and Dede was just listening to everything that she was saying, right? And I don't know who else has noticed, but this week, there's been a blossoming friendship between Dede and Joanna. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be frank with all of you. I love it. I love it because they match each other's energy, right? And compared to Miday's friendship, there's a whole lot of difference. Now, I'm going to point it all out real quick because it's very important to this conversation we're having, all right? Now, with Midday, Dede is a usual, very calm, serious, bougie self, right? Like she keeps it all together, tight and locked in. It is just like that. Like both of them, they are like two peas in a pod. They are literally almost the same. Yeah. So with Midday, Dede is usually very calm and cold, right? Except she sometimes wants to go out of her way to be warm and friendly with other people, but she's just Dede. Midday also is just Midday, right? And Midday does not smile all the time. She doesn't. And that is how she is. She doesn't smile all the time. Now, with Joanna, on the other hand, Joanna is quite young. I think Joanna is 21, yes. Joanna is the typical definition of a raw, infantile Gen Z. Yeah, Gen Z body. She's playful, she's vivacious. She just enjoys having fun all the time. And you see, that is what Dede is looking for in a friend in Big Brother's house. She has said it time and time again to all the boys that she talks to in the house, that she just likes light-hearted conversation, just laughter, nothing too deep. She doesn't want anything that is too deep. All right? Now, Joanna has been gravitating towards Dede, you know, and when they dance together in front of the mirror, they are literally mirroring each other's dance steps, right? When they are talking together, they finish each other's sentence. When they are laughing together, they laugh a lot. So when Dede is with Joanna, Dede laughs more. She has more fun. She's happy, she's excited, she's free. You know, she's out of her own shell, like entirely out of her own shell. Joanna just knows how to effortlessly bring Dede out of Dede's own head, right? And bring Dede into the present, bring her into reality. Now, as much as Joanna is now really good friends with Dede, she had tried connecting with Midday before. And this happened, I think, some 3 days ago. She had tried connecting with Midday. I think, as a matter of fact, Midday was the first person that Joanna tried to connect with this week. Yeah. But it did not really go the way Joanna would have expected. It's not like anything bad happened. No, both of them, they were locked into this conversation of who has suffered the most in life. You know, and it was quite hilarious. I'm going to be frank with all of you. The conversation was hilarious because this one was talking about, oh, how she suffered and suffered and suffered. And this one is also talking about how she suffered and suffered and suffered. And the thing about Joanna is she talks a lot. And when somebody is relaying an experience to her, she always has her own experience that is similar to that person's experience. So she doesn't even allow you land. She doesn't even allow you to finish. She's just like, the same thing happens to me. Oh, you know, that time. So she does that a lot. And while she was having that conversation with Midday, both of them kept on clashing. Midday is trying to share her experience. Joanna is interrupting and clashing. So it was like a competition for who has suffered the most in this life. So the conversation, it had not really gone that easy. And I guess that is why both girls did not deem it necessary to have another sit-down conversation. Because even me as a viewer watching them in that conversation, it was just very exhausting. So I can't even imagine how both of them felt in that conversation. But with Dede, on the other hand, Dede is not the type to try to compete with words or compete with experiences. She does not share about herself. So the only thing she and Joanna talks about are, I'm just a girl, oh my God, da, da, da. This Gen Z kind of things. Those are the only things they actually vibe on. And Joanna always telling her business to Dede. Dede is more of a listener, right? So that's the difference in their relationships. But then there's also the other part where sometime this week, Midday had a toothache and, she's been catering to it. Big Brother has been giving her medication. Bright is always on her side, like most of the time, even though she has told Bright to give her space, but most of the time she's with Bright. And then other times she's with Dede, but because she's also with Bright most of the time, Dede too needs to look for other forms of distraction, right? So she is now spending more time with Joanna. And it seemed like a lot more other people in the house, they've seen the same thing. Like these girls, they have so much fun. Whilst Midday, on the other hand, she's always very gloomy. She's always very serious, which is not bad, ladies and gentlemen. So let's come back to last night, yeah? Now, I did not think that Midday had a problem with Dede experiencing other people aside her. I did not think so. Because even yesterday morning, right? Yesterday morning, they were in the dressing area. Both of them were doing their makeup as usual. And a lot of jokes were being told. Was it yesterday morning? I think it was the day before yesterday morning. A lot of jokes was being told. And yes, Midday has a toothache. So she wasn't really laughing much. And she wasn't even smiling at all. So I noticed, because the camera was on both of them, I noticed that whilst Dede was laughing along with other housemates that were in the dressing area as they were making all of these jokes, Kola was there as well. Midday was not smiling. She was just keeping a straight face. So I noticed that as we were doing their makeup, Dede was looking at Midday. So it seemed as though she was trying to decipher if there was something wrong with her friend, if her friend was okay or not. So she was looking at Midday like this, and then she would do her makeup, she would look at Midday, and then somebody would say something funny again, and they will all laugh. And as Dede is laughing, she's toning down her laughter and looking at Midday, and Midday too is doing makeup, but Midday is not smiling. So it made me feel like, there's something fishy going on here. Because even when Dede too is making the jokes, Midday is not laughing. So you see Dede looking at Midday like, is she okay? And then, it was getting her worried. But anyways, back to yesterday evening, right? After the pool party, during that whole drama that was happening, after Zita had pointed out Midday as the most boring housemate, and Midday was angry and going off. But Dede was not there where she was going off. Dede was in a conversation with Joanna. That had really pissed off Midday. And so the next thing we saw was the camera was with these girls in the laundry area, and Midday was venting. Not like she was shouting, but she was really venting out of frustration to Dede. Like, and this girl insulted me that I was the most boring person, but you were laughing. You're supposed to be my friend. You're not supposed to be laughing with my enemy. So Dede was kind of confused, and she was like, hold on a second, I don't understand. What do you mean I was laughing? So Midday was accusing her of laughing at her during the games when Zita had labeled her as the most boring housemate, So Dede was like, no, that she was actually locked on in a conversation with Joanna. They were talking about something entirely different, that she wasn't even paying attention to the game or whatever was going on. That she and Joanna, they were having so many conversations at the same time. And it was something that Joanna was saying that she was even laughing about, that she doesn't even know what was going on. So Midday was still not having it. She was like, no, but she has been calling me this week. She has been calling me the boring. She has been doing a lot of things. And then I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm oblivious to all of these things you're saying. I don't even know that this has been happening between you and this girl. So Midday was angry, like she was frustrated. She was like, hey, you cannot be laughing with my enemy. So Dede said something like, okay, so I don't even get it. It's like, instead of you, I don't understand if you're expressing how you feel or if you are telling me what to do. Because remember, no inheriting of enemies, no inheriting of beef. I said, very good. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you and I know that BLASTS does not like all those kind of friendships that people will say, oh, if I'm not laughing with this person, you too, you cannot laugh with this person. I'm like, I don't understand. So if you kill the person, I should also join you in killing the person. Like, really? The flipping, annoying concept of ride or die, that is ridiculous, But anyways, Dede tried to explain herself to Midday over and over. At some point, it felt like Midday was not listening. But then I don't know if she finally understood and accepted Dede's explanation, or if it was just out of exasperation that she decided, okay, you know what, let me just drop it, because this girl would not, she would not agree to not be laughing with my enemy anymore, So the whole thing was kind of tense, right? It was really tense, and they just dropped the conversation. So we don't know if there was a resolution at the end of the day, right? So what's her name now? Dede was trying to do her laundry. She still had a bag of clothes, and guys, seeing that bag of clothes was quite triggering to me again, because after Sultana peed in a box and they talked about, oh, they had helped her to wash her clothes, it made me wonder, like, could it be that those clothes are still smelling, or what's going on? So Dede was still doing her laundry. Now, she was still doing her laundry, and then Kola came to join her outside. So apparently both of them, they had struck up a truce in this back and forth that they have been having. I don't know what the truce is, but it seems like Midday has finally accepted for him to come into her space once again, and they can be relating as just friends. No more talk about attraction, attention, like me, love me, whatever. But ladies and gentlemen, Kola has a coconut head. Kola is still sort of trying to stifle and suffocate Dede with affection and attention, to the point that he was even trying to get physical with her, like, it was crossing the boundaries. Actually, that is how it has been this entire week. But then again, Kola has a coconut head. Kola does what Kola wants to do. Kola is erratic. Kola is restless. Kola has an unbridled tongue. He does not know how to control himself. I don't know if it's in general or if it's just around Dede. Yes, and I don't know the way. Anyways, let me just stop here. But last night, between both of them, whilst he was keeping her company in the garden as she was doing her laundry, she now brought up something that he said again in another gossip spree, So she said, Kola, you've done something again. And he was panicking, like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? So she took time, right, before she finally told him. So it turns out that he had said that he wished there was 2 more other girls of Dede, like there were 2 more girls that were just like Dede in this house, that he will not waste his time chasing after Dede the way he has been chasing after her. Instead, he will invest that time in going after those girls, So Dede was like, why would you say that? So Kola was like, no, I did not say that. God forbid. I did not say that. That maybe it was when both of them had not drawn their truce, but now that they've drawn their truce, that he has been quiet, he has not said anything to anybody. I was just laughing, guys. I was just laughing because I'm like, thank God, though, at least Kola too knows that he has been a prattling parrot here and there, So he kept on begging her to the point that he was even trying to hold her from behind, like hug her from behind. And she was like, you shouldn't do that. And he was like, oh, sorry. And he was begging her that, no, I would never say such a thing. Who said it? From where? And then he was trying to hold her hand. I'm like, hey, God, this guy. Why are you so physical? Like, can't you just talk without touching somebody? Like, put your hands down and talk. But Kola is like, hey, like he was trying to touch Dede. And Dede, don't do that. Don't do that. So guys, we did not see the end of the conversation because, of course, there were still people inside the house that were working on their wager. So the cameras moved away from them, But then it made me curious as to what exactly is this truce. Because now remember, Jasonjae is no longer in the picture. He's now spending his time with Sultana, whilst Dede is still living her best life like he never existed. So it's making the whole thing very interesting, and I cannot wait to see how it pans out, especially on Saturday night during and after the party. Now, finally, inside the house, Faith was advising Zita to ensure that whatever it is between herself and Midday, that she resolves it, because he has noticed some sort of things that's happening around the house, and he really cares about her and does not want her to go home before time. so she needs to at least have a conversation with Midday and resolve their differences. But Zita was refusing. Like, she was very adamant that she would never have a conversation with Midday, that it's never going to happen. So we did not hear the last of that conversation because, again, the cameras moved away. But ladies and gentlemen, I understood where Faith was coming from, because you see here, Midday has Bright has his friends. So I felt like what Faith was trying to tell Zita is, these people could actually conspire against you and probably try to nominate you, to vote you out, or maybe just do something that's going to trigger you, and then you get upset, and then you get a disqualification, and then you leave the house. So try to mend fences. I believe that was what Faith was trying to advise her, but she wasn't having any of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop talking here now, because I would love to hear your thoughts about all I have shared on this video. First, about Dede's friendship with either Midday or Joanna. What do you think about both friendships that she has going on for herself? Which one do you like the most, right? And which one do you think makes more sense? Which one do you think is more genuine? All right. And also feel free to also talk about Dede's role in her friendships. All right. And also, let's talk about this new truce she has with Kola. What are your thoughts about it? Let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you guys on my next video. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your day.